What is shaken, Internet? This is Salts bringing you a dash of Salts, the question and answer show where you guys ask me, Salts, questions about my life and video games in general. Every week I accept 5 questions and I answer them on the show. If your question gets answered on the show, then you are automatically entered to win a $20 gift card at the end of the month. At the end of the month, I will be doing one last day dash of Salts, and I announce the winner of that $20 gift card. The $20 gift card can be pretty much anything between League of Legends RP cards, a World of Warcraft Battle.net card, a Steam Deck card, a Google Play card, any card at all that you can think of and I can get my hands on for your region. All you have to do is ask me a question, which you can do in the comments section below, or you can send an email to a.dash.of.salts@gmail.com. That's a dash of salts with periods in between at gmail.com. I accept any and all questions and would like as many as possible. Also, I'm doing a new recent giveaway. Every week, I'll take all the questions and I enter anybody who asked any question at all, whether it's on the show or not. If you asked a question, you are entered to win a raffle. If I get a certain amount of views on my videos, I will automatically give out a game to one person who asked me a question. And last week, we actually did have enough views to get that game out. So I will be sending an email to the winner, and I'm going to be announcing the winner at the end of the show. I will be sending a YouTube message, not an email, a YouTube message to that person explaining how to redeem your game and get your game on Steam. So, without further ado, let's move on. Please send in those questions and let's get right to them. So this week's first question comes from Morpher1234. Morpher1234 asks, I've noticed your wife knows a bit about gaming and nerdy things in general. Is she a gamer? So funny you ask, Morpher. I would say no. Not in the slightest. She only knows stuff about video games because she has to listen to me do my spiel every week, and for however many years I've been doing this at this point. She doesn't really play any video games at all besides Candy Crush and Soda Crush Saga and oh yeah, you play the N64. Yeah. Oh yeah, she was really into Animal Crossing, like stupid hardcore Animal Crossing, like. I would come home and she'd be like, I've been playing Animal Crossing for the last 5 or 6 hours. And I'm like, how do you even do that? Like, there's nothing to do with it. Either way, no, she does not play any of the games that I play, which is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, I don't know. But she definitely is smart. She knows a lot about gaming through me, but she does not play any of those games. We used to play like Life. I remember playing Life on the PC, the Life PC game. She's big into board games and stuff like that. But no, she does not play any video games and really hasn't since the N64. She plays some really good Mario Kart 64, though, I gotta say. She's really good at Mario 64, Super Mario 64. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Next question comes from James Audioslave. James Audioslave asks, what do you think of monk tanks at the moment? Are they as good as they were in MoP? So, let's see. Monk tanks, in general, I think are okay. I don't think that I think they're probably one of the weaker tank classes overall, just as a general rule, because it feels like as a monk tank you have a lot of tools and you have a lot of ways to mitigate damage and a lot of different things to do, but at the end of the day, unless you're doing it really good, you're a bad tank. And if you're doing it really good, you're going to be an okay tank. I mean, if you're doing perfectly, then you're going to be doing a great tank. But there's a huge skill disparity. Like if I play my druid, I can have my 5-year-old son play my druid by just pressing 1 through 5 randomly. Just hey, smash these buttons, and there's still not going to be a terrible tank at the end of the day. Whereas monks, it's like you have to know exactly your rotation. You have to keep your shuffle buff up, shuffle buff. Whatever. You have to keep that up. You have to keep all this. You have to keep track of all these different things with guard and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, you don't excel by doing your normal stuff. Like you have to do a lot of extra stuff to excel. And if you don't do your normal stuff, then you're really going to fall off. So there's just a huge gap where you can kind of fall off as a monk tank, whereas the gap is a lot smaller on a lot of the other tanks. So I think monk tanks are not nearly as good as they were in MoP because of the changes and because of really, a lot of the other tanks just kind of outscale them at this point. I think they tried to do a couple of things. I haven't played around with all the level 100 talents, so I'm not 100% sure. But at the end of the day, I think monks are weaker than they were in MOP. They can be stronger, but there's just a higher skill cap on them, which is kind of a good thing. I mean, it's cool to have a cool like hard monk or hard tank to do. I think DKs have just as much skill involved. They have a lot more cooldowns and things like that as monks do. But at the end of the day, a mediocre DK is going to be decent, whereas a mediocre monk is probably going to be worse than a mediocre DK. Just purely based on skill. So I mean, like DKs are stronger on a mid level, on a normal level than monks. Just as an example, I like druids overall, so I think druids are the best. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, that pretty much answers your thing. I think monk tanks are a little weak, and no, they were not as good as they were in MOP. So moving right along to the next question. Next question comes from Pure Mix. Pure Mix asks, what kind of PC are you using, and what do you use to record your videos? Excellent question. So when I started doing video recording, I was using, I think I used Fraps. For a very, very long time, in fact. I used Fraps for a very, very, very long time. And that's where I actually started with Fraps, and I had to do half resolution, because back then I had a crappy PC. Since then, I've upgraded my PC once, and I eventually finally dropped using Fraps. I think Fraps has really good, really good video quality, but at the end of the day, I don't have the super ridiculous quality, and it's a lot higher on your system requirements. Like Fraps will eat your memory away very, very, very fast. And also, like, the videos are even higher quality, so they even take up even more space on your hard drive kind of thing, so I'm just running out of space and doing all this other stuff. So at the end of the day, I don't use Fraps anymore, and recently I've started using Lolio Recorder, which is a Lolio game recorder. Loilo? I don't know. Low. I don't know how to say it, but I'll put it on the screen here. But yeah, it's a very simple game recorder that does pretty much everything you want, and it does not eat any resources, or not nearly as many resources as Fraps did. So I use that so I can get my higher quality 1080p out of the video games without really eating into my frame rate. As far as my PC goes, my PC's pretty crappy. At this point, it's 3 years old. I mean, parts of it are 3 years old. But at the end of the day, let's see. I have a hard drive. I just recently upgraded to a solid state drive a couple weeks ago, or a month or two ago. I was very excited about that. That's super awesome. I love my solid state drive. My graphics card is pretty old. I think it's a Radeon HD 6800 series, so not even like the X series or the T series or whatever it is now. So it's really out of date. But it runs all the games on very good settings, ultra settings. Well, I mean, maybe not ultra, but like high settings, without any frame rate dropping and stuff like that. So I'm more than happy with it at the moment. I don't think that there's anything fancy about my PC. I think I have an Intel i5. I built my PC myself, so I'm a cheapskate like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I just built this PC, but the problem is, like I said, it's 3 years old, so it's already aging. It's already quite a bit aged. But at the end of the day, microphone, dropping my microphone. At the end of the day, I think that I would really like to upgrade my PC, but I don't think I need to. If I did, I would upgrade the graphics card. That was probably the one thing I really want to upgrade, and probably the RAM. I only have 8 gigs of RAM on this machine, so yeah, I know. All those people are like, oh, only 8 gigs of RAM, you're so bad. Yeah. But yeah, it does what it needs to, and it's really useful. I would suggest, if you're trying to do any kind of recording, Loilo recorder, game recorder, is it's absolutely free, and it is fantastic. I haven't had any problems with it at all. It's been what I've been recording, the BlackRock Foundry stuff, and everything else that I've been doing recently, like since basically the expansion for World of Warcraft hit. So yeah, there we go. Let's move on to the next question. Next question comes from David Pagiella. David Pagiella asks, have you ever played tabletop RPG games? The short answer to this is absolutely. Yes, I love to play tabletop RPG games. Actually, my new job as of a year ago. They have monthly get-togethers where we come and sit down and play board games. Now these are not RPGs as in like Dungeons and Dragons, but they are kind of the higher end ones that are a little bit harder to understand. They're not like, oh, we're gonna play Monopoly, or oh, we're gonna play Chutes and Ladders. No, no, no. We actually play some good games. But I also did used to play Dungeons and Dragons. I actually have an uncle, two uncles in fact, that ran a many year long campaign. They have like their whole room set up with Dungeons and Dragons and have all the books since second edition and all that stuff. So I've had extensive experience with Dungeons and Dragons. I remember playing my first sessions of Dungeons and Dragons when I was about 10 or 11 with a whole bunch of high school / college age kids. Maybe I was weird. Either way, yeah, that my uncle's a lot older than me, obviously. He was in college when I was in 10th grade, but he ran this dungeon, and actually he still does. He still runs it. And I haven't played with him in a long time, but yeah, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons quite often, especially when I could during the summer with them. And I tried multiple times to get Dungeons and Dragons games started with my friends when I was in middle school and high school, and it always failed miserably. At the end of the day, I always tried to be DM, and I was always really bad at it because I would always give away anything I wanted, and I'd be like, yeah, here's a ring that gives you intangibility, and a ring that gives you invisibility, and a ring that gives you 3 wishes. As a level 1 character. It's just awful. I did just terrible things as a DM. But either way, yes, I've played tabletop RPG games for a very long time. I'm always on the lookout because I really would love to go back and play some Dungeons and Dragons. There's even groups around here that actually play it, but I have not dipped my toes in recently anywhere close to me. So one day I might get back into it, but I haven't played tabletop RPG games extensively or seriously for a very long time. All right. Next, last question for the week comes from James McKenzie. James McKenzie asks, I see you play League of Legends. What are some good characters to start out playing? Excellent question, James. So, my favorite answer to this question, I've actually been asked this question before from my friends when they started playing League of Legends, and I always default to saying, play tanks. Play tanks. The reason I say play tanks is because tanks are the characters that if you make a mistake or if you mess up, you can survive just a little bit longer. And that little bit longer really matters, especially at lower levels. Because, people don't know how to focus you, or when they do focus you, then you have a whole team that does damage that kind of backs you up. Also, tanks are really great at lower levels and even higher levels because tanks are really good at end game. So the longer you go play as a tank, the more items you'll get, and as long as you keep getting tanky, that means you get to live longer. Even if you're playing badly, you're playing in the wrong position, you don't know where to stand and all that stuff, you don't know what's happening. But as long as you're a tank and you can survive, you'll basically outlive the thing. When I started playing, I've always tried to play tanks and that kind of stuff, and I always had good success. Thinking along those lines, if you're trying to think of what you want to do, what character specifically you want to play as a tank, or as a new player, I would suggest tank. And the character I would suggest probably that pops out to me is Rammus. Or not Rammus. Well, Rammus is absolutely the best character in the whole game, I'm just saying. But he is a pure tank, and he's absolutely fantastic. However, he does cost 3,000 IP. So if you're looking for a super duper cheap tank, I would pick up Garen. Garen is also fantastic for multiple other reasons because he can be very tanky. He does a decent amount of damage early and mid game, and even late game. He has a cool ult that just does super amounts of damage too. He also does really well with pretty much any summoner spells. He's pretty decent with all of them. He has a great passive for people that don't really know how to play the game. They kind of take damage and then run away, and then they get healed up, and it's like, hey, you got healed up, awesome. And finally, he doesn't have any mana. So basically, you never have to keep track of how much mana he has or how much energy he has. He's literally a cooldown champion. When it's on cooldown, you can press his buttons and you can do stuff. Cool. He has everything you need, and I think that he's a great champion. He also only costs 450 IP. So he's very cheap. You can get him after 1 or 2 wins. You can get him way before you even start playing PvP even, when you still got stuck on bots and stuff like that. So I think Garen is an absolutely fantastic champion to play. Along those lines, I'll just throw out a couple other couple of champions. Excuse me. Let's see. Amumu is really good. Rammus, like I said, is really good. Cho'Gath can be very, very, very good. He's also very, very easy and just general to play, and he has a lot of different build paths, so you don't have to build him tank. You can maybe start playing Cho'Gath. He's really relatively cheap. I think he's $13.50. You could start playing Cho'Gath. You can play him as a tank, and then you can kind of build into now I'm going to be a caster Cho'Gath and be only AP, and still do really well. So, I mean, there's a lot of champions, but like I said, whatever you pick, I really suggest that you play a tank or you play a tanky type champion, because those are the champions that are going to be a little bit more forgiving in your mistakes. You know, if you're too far forward, you get caught, you might die, but you might be able to get away just based on what what's going on. So there you go. All right, so there's all the questions for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for sending in multiple questions. I actually had about 9 or 10 questions, or 9 or 10 people sending in questions this week, so that's fantastic. Got some extra questions in the bank, just in case. And additionally, like I said at the beginning of this video, we are giving away a game. So I have a long, long list of games that I'm going to be sending out to the winner of the contest. Before I go into the winner of the contest, I will say one more time, if this video gets over 200 views, that was the goal last time, we're just going to keep that goal for now. If this video gets over 200 views by next Tuesday, when I post the next video, I will announce another winner, and we will be giving away another game. These are relatively cheap games, anywhere between $5 games and $20 games, just whatever I can find. I have a huge list of them, and I just kind of assorted them over the years. So I will be sending that list to Mr. or Mrs. maybe, Pure Mix. Pure Mix, you are the winner this week. You have been selected to win a game. What I need you to do is check your YouTube account messages and check out the list that I sent you, and please let me know your Steam ID on that. Actually, just read the thing for the instructions on how to do this stuff. So anyway, congratulations, Pure Mix, and please send in those questions so that we have more questions next week. And remember to share this video so that we can get up to that 200 views and I can give away more games. I like giving you guys games. Additionally, I think that we might be having another giveaway in a few weeks' time, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, I think that's just about it, and let's wrap up this questionnaire. Thank you all for watching. Please like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and, as always, you keep it salty, Internet.